A golf cart with a flashing amber light blocks my pickup at the boat ramp like it's guarding Fort Knox. 2 HOA security guards in neon life vests, worn on perfectly dry land, plant their feet in front of my truck. Behind them stands Elaine Kettering, wearing pearls, clutching a clipboard, and radiating the kind of confidence usually reserved for people announcing the apocalypse. She lifts a bullhorn to her lips and shouts, "Residents of Maple Shore Reserve only." I calmly point at the sign 10 feet away that reads Voss Dam, authorized personnel. The lake ripples peacefully behind them. My spillway camera blinks red like it's enjoying the show. I'm Graham Voss, a quiet civil engineer who inherited Voss Mill Dam and the water rights that created Willowir Lake over a century ago. My hobbies include birdwatching, enjoying gentle solitude, and not being told what to do by people who give their houses names like Serenity Shores or Vista Dreams. 3 years ago, a subdivision sprouted up on the North Shore like aggressive weeds. Elaine moved in, became HOA president within 6 months, and apparently decided the lake existed solely to provide a scenic backdrop for her sunset photos. She had a glossy pamphlet printed titled Lake Rules that prohibited work vehicles, unsightly trailers, and my personal favorite, no dam-related activity on weekends. The dam is literally the only reason the lake exists in the first place. Without it, Willowir would be nothing more than a muddy creek bed with delusions of grandeur. Elaine's campaign to control everything within sight of her bay windows escalated in perfectly suburban increments. Courtesy fines started appearing on my windshield for non-compliant launch procedure, which apparently meant I had the audacity to back down a boat ramp that I personally built with my own money 15 years ago. Security guards began patrolling the shoreline with actual yardsticks, measuring my dock like it owed them mortgage money. One particularly memorable afternoon, a guard accused me of having a non-regulation cleat on my dock. A cleat. The rope-tying kind. Apparently, it was 2 inches too tall and created what Elaine called a visual disruption. Then she installed HOA members-only signs along the shared county access road, complete with a gate featuring a keypad that played cheerful chimes when you enter the code. The road, I should mention, was built and maintained by the county with public funds. The gate went up on a Friday. I called the county roads department on Monday. The gate came down on Tuesday, but not before Elaine sent me a formal letter threatening legal action for bypassing HOA security protocols. On the neighborhood app next door, she posted my photograph under the heading Unknown Man Operating Industrial Valve. I wasn't unknown. I'd lived there for 15 years. The industrial valve she was so concerned about was the sluice gate that literally keeps her precious lake from draining into the valley below. She started scheduling HOA meetings specifically to discuss my activities. I know this because residents kept forwarding me the minutes. One meeting agenda item actually read, Graham Voss Dam Problem Ongoing Discussion. Another time, she convinced the board to send me a cease and desist letter demanding I stop conducting wildlife surveys because my presence on the shoreline was disturbing the aesthetic tranquility of the community. I was counting herons with binoculars, not setting off fireworks. When I scheduled a routine spring drawdown, dropping the lake level 3 feet for my annual safety inspection, Elaine carpet-bombed the neighborhood with flyers announcing that the HOA had officially denied my request due to marina hours. The lake, I discovered, now apparently had operating hours like a shopping mall. The flyer included a helpful chart showing that dam operations were only permitted between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. on weekdays, which would make inspecting a dam physically impossible. One Saturday morning, I'm down by the sluice gate doing a pre-inspection check when Elaine arrives with her security team flanking her like a tiny presidential motorcade. She's already called the county sheriff's deputy, who pulls up looking tired before he even gets out of his cruiser. I recognize him from the gate incident. Elaine informs him with absolute certainty that I'm trespassing on HOA property and tampering with a recreational asset. She uses the phrase recreational asset 3 times in 2 minutes like she just learned it from a legal dictionary. I hand the deputy my dam registration paperwork, the property deed that dates back to 1923, and the state dam safety engineer's official drawdown order with my name printed right at the top. The order has multiple state seals and signatures from actual engineers with actual licenses. Elaine counters by presenting a trifold brochure she clearly printed at home and something she calls an exclusive literal access covenant, notarized at Harper's Pack and shipped next to the grocery store. The notary stamp is slightly crooked. The deputy's eyebrow slowly climbs toward his hairline as he compares my official state documents to her crafts project. Elaine then produces what she claims is a petition signed by 70 homeowners demanding I cease all dam operations immediately. The deputy asks if any of those homeowners have legal standing over a state-regulated dam. Elaine stares at him like he's speaking a foreign language. I pull out my phone and make one more call, this time to the County Water Resources Office and the State Environmental Protection Division. I let them know very calmly that an HOA has just attempted to claim legal dominion over a state-regulated dam structure and is actively interfering with mandated safety inspections. Monday morning arrives like karma, wearing a vest and carrying surveying equipment. The county surveyor shows up with bright orange chalk and starts drawing boundary lines like a referee marking a playing field. A small crowd of curious homeowners gathers to watch. It turns out the HOA's adorable beach cabanas are sitting a good 6 feet over the public easement line. So is their fire pit area, their yoga deck, and approximately half of their butterfly garden. Then the state inspector arrives carrying a clipboard thick enough to stop a bullet, and asks Elaine, very politely, to produce her impoundment operator's permit. She doesn't have one, because that's not something homeowners associations can just decide to possess. He then asks for wetland disturbance permits, shoreline modification permits, and dock construction permits. She has none of them. What she does have is a 3-ring binder full of paint samples and a file folder labeled Lake Beautification Initiative. I email my 14-day drawdown notice, which is required by state law, to every address on file, sent certified mail with return receipt requested. The email is professionally formatted, includes the exact legal statute I'm operating under, and lists the inspection schedule. Elaine replies exactly 1 minute later with a single word in all capital letters. Denied. She doesn't even try to provide a reason. The state replies 1 minute after that with 2 words. Acknowledged. Proceed. The same deputy from Saturday swings by again, this time with a knowing smile, to observe compliance. The security guards suddenly remember they have urgent business elsewhere. One of them actually apologizes to me quietly while Elaine isn't looking. At 8 o'clock in the morning, I open the sluice gate exactly 1/4 turn. The mechanism groans slightly, the way old steel does when it remembers its purpose. The lake seems to inhale, hold its breath, then slowly exhale. Water begins flowing through the spillway with increasing force. By noon, waterline marks appear around what the HOA calls their marina, which is actually just a collection of unpermitted docks bolted directly to landscaping timbers instead of proper pilings. By 3 in the afternoon, several pontoon boats are resting on exposed mud like beached whales. Dock ladders lead to nowhere. That distinctive fertilizer green fringe of lake bottom appears, and with it comes the smell of disturbed sediment and someone's poor landscaping choices. Right on schedule, the state biologists arrive in official vehicles with government plates. They begin photographing everything: illegal riprap made from broken concrete and old bricks, unauthorized goose deterrent wires strung low enough to be a boating hazard, decorative boulders placed in protected wetlands, and what appears to be someone's heroic but deeply misguided attempt to paint the natural cattails a friendlier shade of beige. One biologist actually laughs out loud when he finds it. I host the inspection team on my deck with coffee and homemade muffins. I also provide a folder I've helpfully labeled Things Elaine Said Out Loud, which includes printouts of her next-door posts, copies of her threatening letters, and a particularly unhinged voicemail where she called me an enemy of residential harmony. The lead inspector takes notes with obvious amusement. At 4 o'clock, the state posts official notices of violation on every single HOA structure that touched the shoreline without proper permits. There are 17 separate violations. Each one carries a potential fine of up to $5,000 per day until corrected. Elaine tries to rally the gathered homeowners into some kind of resistance, standing on a picnic table and shouting about property rights and community values. Her speech is interrupted when a bluegill flops desperately in a puddle near her wedge heels, and someone's supposedly anchored kayak slowly drifts past on the mud like a disappointed turtle. For my finale, I perform the scheduled gate valve test, and a dramatic sheet of water thunders through the spillway with appropriate force, exactly as designed in 1923. The HOA's expensive Bluetooth speaker, which had been playing yacht rock at moderate volume, slides off an exposed dock and dies with a sad electronic burble. The lake level drops another 6 inches. More mudflat appears. So do several traffic cones, a lawn chair, and what looks like somebody's missing recycling bin. 2 weeks later, Maple Shore Reserve holds an emergency meeting in their clubhouse, which smells distinctly of sunscreen and barely contained panic. Nearly every homeowner shows up. Elaine arrives carrying a banker's box full of what she probably thinks is evidence, but mostly appears to be printed screenshots and highlighted magazine articles about waterfront property values. She's prepared a PowerPoint presentation. She doesn't get to show it. The vote to remove her as president takes less than 5 minutes. The margin could only be described as humiliating. 3 votes in favor of keeping her. 42 against. The new board president is a retired civil engineer who immediately apologizes to me in front of everyone. The new board agrees in writing to pay all civil penalties, which total $68,000, and fund a complete shoreline restoration project using native plants instead of imported turfgrass. They'll remove every single unpermitted dock and cabana structure within 90 days. The shared county access road will be reopened permanently, with no gate whatsoever. The beach area will be restored to natural vegetation. The HOA will submit to annual compliance inspections by the state. But that's not all. Elaine herself faces personal consequences. The county prosecutor reviews my documentation and decides to press charges. She pleads guilty to misuse of emergency services, filing a false legal instrument, and interference with government infrastructure. The judge sentences her to 2 years of probation, $3,500 in fines, and 120 hours of community service. Her assignment? Scrubbing algae off the county boat ramp every Saturday morning, directly beneath a banner reading, "Water is a public trust." She'll be doing it in a bright orange vest so everyone can see her. She stands there in the courtroom, face pale, hands shaking slightly as the judge reads her sentence. Her carefully styled hair seems to deflate. Her clipboard falls from her hands and hits the floor with a sharp crack. For the first time since I've known her, Elaine Kettering has absolutely nothing to say.